Hi, I'm Rebecca Balcarcel. Let's talk about Gryphon, the short story by Charles Baxter. The main character is Tommy, whose life is radically changed when the substitute teacher, Miss Ferenzi, comes and is quite different than every other substitute he's ever had. Now, for Tommy, life has been rather wholesome and sweet and safe, and let's just say boring. His mother is compared to Betty Crocker, which is the symbol of perfect homemaking. We see him doing his chores obediently. We see that he's shocked by his classmate, who is not a bad person, but she does some kind of like blows her nose on a paper and throws it away, and he thinks that she's a bad person. So compared to Tommy, if that's bad, then he must be quite a good boy. So into that normal, stable life, we come to Miss Ferenzi, or she comes to him. And this is a breath of fresh air. She doesn't make them say the pledge, which they should know very well by now, she says. She draws a tree on the chalkboard, and gosh, doesn't every classroom need a tree? She is interesting and stimulating. Now, for Tommy, this becomes quite important. He takes to heart a lot of what she's saying, and while there may be some discussion about whether it's real or not in the bus with his friend, and he does want to check it out by going to the dictionary, he is already convinced that even if she's not telling exactly the truth, that he's enjoying this. He enjoys this bit of magic, this bit of adventure thrown into their lives. Now, when he does go to the dictionary, he thinks that it adds credibility to her because it says that a griffin is a beast that's fabulous. And he thinks fabulous is just an adjective describing how wonderful it is. Now, we know that fabulous refers to the mythological and the invented, the imaginary. This animal does not appear in the fossil record, but rather in myth and story, in art. But Tommy does not understand that, and so he goes along assuming that a griffin is a real creature. A lot of what Miss Ferenzi says does have some kernel of truth in it. For example, higher mathematics is more fluid, but not quite to the extent that she implies. Certain things about the Egyptians that she says are true, but maybe not quite with all the ramifications that she gets from it. So some of what she says is true. Other parts are a little more unusual, and then some things are quite out of the ordinary that even the adult reader may have never heard of. So for Tommy, who does believe most of what she's saying at least, she represents free thinking and imagination and stimulation. And this is so important to him that when she is ejected from the school at the end, he defends her. He is angry that she's been forced out. He's upset that this child, his fellow student, has kind of told on her, and that the authorities have acted to, get rid of the only interesting thing that's ever happened as far as he can remember. So how does our society treat outcasts or nonconformists? That's one of the themes of the story, I think. And another more personal theme is that each of us needs a bit of magic or a bit of color, flavor, a few new ideas sometimes to keep our lives interesting. We can't just ossify and dry out into little husks with nothing new ever coming into our lives. That wouldn't be living at all. So Miss Ferenzi becomes a symbol of new ideas and new energy, even if she crosses the line and ultimately, does something that most of us wouldn't approve of. She does continue to be important to Tommy. So he defends her in order to preserve that, newness in his life and that sense of adventure. He doesn't want to give that up. This is a gift that's been given to him by her presence. And we all need to embrace that gift as well. While it can be disruptive, it also is the source of creativity and imagination. A quick note about the Pinocchio line in this story. It's a reference to illusion versus reality because Pinocchio is a marionette, a puppet who becomes a real boy, In the story of Pinocchio, it's love and some magic that turns him from a marionette with strings into a flesh and blood child. And Miss Ferenzi is always representing the illusion mixed with the reality of, her perspective of the world. Is it real? Is it not real? Is she for real? Or is she to be trusted? Is she deliberately staging? Is she theatrical here? Or is this her true self? And if it is, does she represent real reality? Or does the traditional town and the school and the textbook represent reality? So we have this push-pull with illusion, reality, theatricality versus normalcy. And in the story of Pinocchio, there's a merging of the two. And I think Miss Ferenzi is emerging as well. She is both a fantastical creature, but she's also real. And while her stories may be fantastical and imaginary and not real, and perhaps, theatrically presented, she is real for Tommy. The impact she has on his life is real. And the sense of adventure that he takes away from this whole experience is also real. Well, I hope you enjoyed taking a closer look at Gryphon.